Hi there, and welcome at Life's True Colors. This time a project inspired by Christy from Ghost Bride's art journaling. The address is at the end of the movie. I started out with a paper bag and painted on some gesso back and front. I just wanted to get rid of that ugly brown color. Then I printed out a silhouette, this time an elephant, and found some grey and blue colors in the magazine, cut out strips, and here is where I changed our class up just a little bit. Instead of cutting small strips, I cut these strips into small rectangles or squares. I then flipped over the print I made and glued down all the tiny bits of color. Very randomly. I'm not thinking this over. This is the end result. Put that aside to dry. And back to the bag. Here I have a little mini mister with Indian ink and some water and spread through a leather stencil just to start the first layer. Then some pink acrylic paint through a stencil, and I do not remember whose it is. I think it's Crafters Workshop. I'm not sure. After that dried, I put down some lighter pink acrylics. This paint is a little bit thicker, so I used a little spray of water to make it easier to get it to flow on the page. I then took some water, as you will see soon. Here it is. Put some water in my hands and made bigger drops onto the paint and put them back off with a paper towel. Here's the result of that. Isn't that cute? I like it. After that dried, the next layer, a warm yellow one, and again the same technique. This paint dries pretty fast, so you can do it all at once. You don't have to wait. Then a wash of gesso. Took some gesso and diluted it with water, just to make everything come together and put it a little bit more into the background, because there are a lot more layers coming. It looks pretty opaque, but it dries more transparent. And then a layer of medium. I liked this layer, so I didn't want to smear anything with more layers of wet medium. So I put this on to protect this layer, and it feels good. It makes the paper feel leathery. Oh my goodness. While it was drying, I took some, it's not really tissue paper, I think it's Chinese rice paper. It's very thin, and I stamped on it and added a small piece of that on the top edge of the bag. Put some paper towels in between to catch the excess medium. Wrinkled up my rice paper. Then first a layer of medium. I used matte medium by Liquitex. Push out the bubbles, and then another layer of medium on top. On the bottom side of the bag I used the same stamp, no tissue paper this time. While that was drying, I cut out my elephant and For a more dimensional look, I took some oil pastel around the edges, a black oil pastel. I also wanted to add some grey into my background, the grey that was that's in the elephant. So I took the same stencil but flipped it in a different direction, and some grey and black and white paint. I didn't mix the paint, I had the colors separate on my brush to give the stenciling also a little bit more dimension or interest. Excuse me. I didn't like the bottom one. I think I'm going to add some more black and grey to that one. And then another wash of gesso, just to put it back into the background. And I tried the same technique with the drops of water, but the gesso was still too wet. I should have waited a little bit longer. It didn't have the same effect. Then just a tiny bit of yellow paint and a fan brush. Lots of water for some splatters and some very thin stripes. Just to add some interest and some color. I do the same thing with black. Tiny bit of paint, lots of water. Then the next layer, paper napkins. I took the top layer, the layer with the paint colors and pattern, and I will adhere them down with the same matte medium by Liquitex. A little bit of white glue watered down also does the trick. It's more difficult to write on top of that, so that's why I use a medium. Another wash of gesso. These colors were just a bit too bright. Then another layer of yellow and pink. And I will use the same technique with the drops of water to make these layers a little bit less solid. Some pink paint around the edges and another layer of medium. I did that because I was going to doodle, as you can see, and that way pens and markers and other like pencils and things will flow better. I doodled with black and white pen, paint markers, colored markers. Then it was time for my text, my lettering. I had a quote that I wanted to put on, and I had just bought this alphabet sorry, that was Dutch, stamp set, and I had difficulties with getting these tiny little things out, but it worked. I then added some little more details on the bottom because I was feeling like this elephant was floating. You will see, because there's pictures coming up now. That's the real color. There's the quote and an overall picture. So thanks for watching, and thank you, Christy. I love our 30 pages in 90 days course, really do. And maybe I'll see you on my blog. Until next time, bye now.